reparenting, which is the process of healing from trauma, beginning to give ourselves the parenting that we didn't get growing up. And that's what had caused the trauma, was not being parented the way we needed as a child. And today I want to look at the 12 needs, because a big part of parenting is meeting the child's 12 needs, but also teaching the child how to meet their own needs, teaching the child what needs they're fully responsible for, what they need others to help them meet. So when we started this program, the 12 needs was really the foundation piece for much of the teaching that was developed. And over the years, the 12 needs has been used in hundreds of different ways. In all of our React centers and Lift programs, it's used. But I've been given some thought that what's developed as we've taught the 12 needs is that we teach one of the 12 needs and then we teach different sub-needs. So one of the 12 needs we met and actually ends up becoming a whole bunch of different needs. So I wanted to take a session to just go through with you the 12 needs, but expand it out, break it down for you so that you begin to see clearly all the different sub-needs that we include under the 12 needs. And what we're going to end up with is 68 needs. Now that for some of you is going to feel a bit overwhelming, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed. But for some of you, it's going to actually be quite exciting because you go, oh, I see that there's a whole bunch of needs here. But then what I want you to see at all of this is getting healthy, recovery, is learning to meet all of those 68 needs. Learning what is my part, what is the part of others. And that's a lot of learning to do. And so reparenting ourselves is the journey of gradually getting to understand how to meet all of these needs. So let's dig in, and I think you'll quickly catch on to what I'm doing and how I'm laying it out. So the first need that we've identified in the past is pleasure. That our brain is wired for pleasure. That if you look at the chemicals the brain wants to secrete, you find dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, all pleasurable. The brain is designed with the chemicals that give pleasure. It does not want to have the absence of those four chemicals. So everything about our brain wants pleasure, is wired for pleasure. But then under that, we've come up with two sub-needs. So we just don't need pleasure, but a child, in order to develop in a healthy way, needs lots of pleasurable limbic brain experiences. That helps shape their brain, develop their brain, their nervous system. So we need pleasurable, playful experiences to heal our limbic brain as we reparent ourselves. But secondly, our brain needs to resolve pain and problems. Because when there's pain and problems, it's not giving the right chemicals that it wants to give. So our brain can't relax if there's pain or problems. It works looking for a solution. And so the problem of complex trauma is a child is confronted with painful emotions and problems that it can't resolve. And that therefore means it has lack of pleasure, lots of pain, and that is not good. And so our brain needs tools to resolve problems. That is a huge need that is part of our life. The second need we identify are physical needs. But then to get healthy, a parent knows a child needs healthy food. They need water. They need shelter. They need healthy sleep. And sleep becomes such an important part of a healthy life. They need to exercise. If they're going to have a central nervous system that's healthy, a body that's healthy, mental health that's healthy, exercise becomes important. So under physical needs are 5 sub-needs that are part of meeting our physical needs. Now, I always like to get people to think that along these lines. Our physical needs are our most obvious needs. We feel them. So if we're hungry, we feel hunger. If we're thirsty, we feel thirst. If we're not getting enough sleep, we feel tired. All of those things are part of our physical needs. They give us sensations when the need is not met. What I want people to understand is that then points us to our other areas of need. We are also intellectual beings, emotional beings, spiritual beings, relational beings. That means we have emotional hunger, intellectual hunger, spiritual hunger. That means we can feel alone. And that feels, when we're in a relationship, that feels like relational hunger. That loneliness makes me hunger for a relationship. We can feel emotional exhaustion. We can feel intellectual fatigue, spiritual fatigue. So our physical needs are road signs that point us to our other needs, and the sensations of our physical needs not being met, they give us clues as to the fact we're going to have the same type of hunger, thirst sensation, tired sensation in our intellectual world, in our emotional world, in our relational world, in our spiritual world. I need to understand what that feels like. The third that we identify is sex. Now, this is the one I get people that get upset with me at times because they say, sex is not a need. Here's how I respond. Sex is the one thing we could live without. Of all the other needs, we could live without sex. So that's why some people say it's not a need. But sex is a drive. It is built into us. It is a powerful drive. And what I want people to understand, especially coming to complex trauma, is if they don't understand the power of their sex drive, then they're probably going to have trouble in recovery. And so sex, maybe you could live without, but yet it is an important part of life in understanding ourselves. It is a powerful drive. That's why I emphasize it. With that is family. Now, some people will say, well, I don't have the need to have children. And I go, true, it's another thing that can be lived without. We don't necessarily need to have kids to be fulfilled, but it is a drive for most people. Something in them wants children. Something in them drives them to pursue having a family. So sex and family might not necessarily be needs for people, but they are powerful drives for most. And it is important to understand them. Then we look at the fact that we are relational beings. We have relational needs and relational drives. A child wants a friend. A child wants to fit in. And so under relationship are a whole bunch, 11 sub-needs. And these are so important because in complex trauma, most people got their physical needs met, though some didn't. Where the trauma comes in is in this relational need and the next one we're going to look at. So the sub-needs are, we have a powerful need for attachment. It is one of our most important needs. And that's not just to attach to mom, dad, other human beings, but it's to attach to ourselves, to attach to a higher power. Attachment is central to well-being, to feeling happiness. Then we have a need to be able to be authentic. And a child comes into the world with a drive to be authentic, to just put themselves out there. We have a drive and a need to fit in, to belong. We have a need for people in relationship with us to be present to us when we're with them. So that they're not off somewhere, but they're giving us their full attention. They are present. We need communication. That is essential as part of a healthy life. We need relationships, but we need to be able to trust the people we're in relationship with. Trust becomes a need. And in order to be able to trust, we need people to be committed to us. So having a few people who are committed to us is a need if we are to be healthy. If we're to be healthy, we need relationships marked by truth, where we can talk honestly, where there are no secrets. So truth is a need for us. Then we need to be able to connect with people intellectually. Then we need to connect with people emotionally. And we need to connect with people spiritually at our deepest core values and beliefs. So 11 different needs that are incorporated into having healthy relationships. Then we talk about the need for love. Such a massive need, but it too has 11 sub-needs that are so essential if we're going to be healthy. So a child needs respect. If we are going to be healthy, we need to be treated with respect. We need to respect ourselves. Respect is a huge need for us. We need to accept ourselves. We need to be accepted by those closest to us. Such an essential need if we are to be healthy. We need to be validated for who we are, for what we do. Validation is a drive in us, but it's a need in us. We need, if we're going to be healthy, to have a positive self-identity, not a shame identity, but an identity that knows I have value for who I am. I am lovable for who I am. I don't need to do anything to be okay. I am okay. We need a positive self-identity. And then we need to be understood. That's part of loving somebody. That you get to know them. That you get them. That you take time to understand how they think, their needs, their drives, their desires. We need that to be healthy. Then we need to be nurtured. We need people that when we're in pain, they show love to us by coming beside us, comforting us, nurturing us, helping us, having empathy. And then we need encouragement because we're going to fail, because we're weak, because we're human. We're going to fall down. We're going to get discouraged. We're going to feel like quitting. We're going to feel hopeless. And we need people to come beside us and encourage us. That's part of how you love people, is you encourage them, you build them up. But then we also need forgiveness, because we are going to hurt people. We are going to fail people. And we need to have relationships where they're able to let that go if we're truly sorry and change. And the relationship can be restored. That is part of love. And then we need lots of tenderness, lots of gentleness. We need an environment that has a softness to us, but firmness, but softness to it. That's part of love. And then we realize that if I am going to truly love, I need to learn healthy motives. I can't do the right thing for the wrong reasons. So I need to develop healthy motives. That's part of love. And then part of love comes out of humility. That you're just as important as me. Your needs matter just as much as mine. And so I need the attitude of humility as part of love. So 11 key, deep, essential needs that can all come under the umbrella of love. Then we talk about security as being such a huge need for every individual. But that has a whole bunch of sub-needs. So first, safety. We seek safety. We need protection. Our brain is wired to protect us. It's all about safety and keeping us safe. That is a massive need. Physical safety, emotional safety, spiritual safety, relational safety. But then to have security, we need provision, to know that our needs are going to be met. So we need money in our culture in order to have a sense of security, to be able to pay our bills. But then to have a sense of security, we need a place where there's justice, where wrong is stopped, where good is rewarded. We can't feel secure if there's not justice. And then with that, to feel secure, we need healthy boundaries. We need to be able to say no and have people respect that. Otherwise, we don't feel secure. So boundaries comes under security. And then to feel secure, a child needs a routine. They need a consistent life. They need to know that mom's going to be today the same today as she will be tomorrow, that she's not going to be on an emotional roller coaster and all over the map. We need consistency of personality of people around us, consistency of behavior. We need consistency of routine. All of that creates a sense of security. But then we need guidance if we're going to feel secure. What's the best path to choose? What do I do in this situation? Wise behavior, what's unwise behavior? And then I need emotional regulation if I'm going to feel secure. So all of those things come under security. And that's a lot of nuances to the topic of security. Then we need a sense of purpose. Such a huge need. Some would put it under the spiritual category. But I'm just going to put it separately. But it has sub-needs. So part of my sense of purpose comes through my career, through my job, through my vocation. And so we need a job. We need to work. That's built into us. But more than that, part of my sense of purpose always involves some type of service to the environment, to animals, to other people. And so part of my sense of purpose might be just volunteering or a hobby where I serve and help people. That's an important need, serving others. I can't have a life that just focuses on me. I have to also have a life that gives to others. That's what purpose includes. And then all of fulfilling my purpose includes learning. And I have a curiosity. I have a desire to learn new information, to figure stuff out. So learning is a need that we all have. So again, under purpose, you have some sub-needs. And then we talk about we have to work, but we also have to rest. There has to be both. There has to be a balance. And so we talk about rest as a key need in all of us. So what does that include? A bunch of sub-needs. It means that we learn healthy self-care. We learn to take downtime. And that could be a vacation. That could be a day off. That could be just taking evenings to relax. That means learning that we have needs for play, for fun, just to get away from stresses and just have fun doing stuff. That means we need healthy escapes in life, hobbies, walking in nature, going out and doing travel, exercise, music, art, all of those different healthy escapes. We need all of those things to keep balance between work and rest so we don't burn out. So our identity is not all about what we do. All of those sub-needs are so important. And then we're wired to need beauty. Beauty creates the positive limbic brain experiences that we need to be healthy. So we're drawn to beauty. And so for many people, what that means is they need to have some interaction with nature, with animals. Something about doing that meets something deep in them that feeds their soul. For others, that beauty is experienced through art, through music, through travel. And as they do that, it just gives those positive limbic brain experiences. Others, that beauty, that need is met because they have a need to explore. A child explores. A child is always wanting to discover new things. That's part of what that sub-need of exploring is all about. So beauty, but has sub-needs. And then connected to that is this need for a sense of awe or a sense of wonder. Now, some would put that in a religious category, and they can for them. But here's what I want you to understand. There's something in us that needs to connect to something bigger than ourselves. So again, some would put this in a spiritual category, but not necessarily. Just think of those circumstances that give you goosebumps. That's kind of the experiences, the sense of wonders, the goosebump experiences. And again, it's a limbic brain experience, a positive limbic brain experience. So what that could be for you is just listening to beautiful music and it just gives you goosebumps. Or it could be seeing athletic sports and seeing extreme skill gives you goosebumps. Could be being out in nature. It could be connecting with your higher power and meditating. It could come through travel and seeing new things that are just awesome. For many people, what they begin to realize is part of this goosebump experience includes for them a need to take time to meditate, to just focus on truth, to focus on bigger than me, to get out of my little world and just meditate. And that gives them that goosebump awe experience. For others, it includes the need of gratitude. We all, if we're going to be healthy, need to have gratitude. And we need to develop gratitude. And so gratitude for many is just an overwhelming heart gratitude, a goosebump type thing. So we sub-needs to this whole awe sense of wonder. Then spiritual, and we did a talk last week about spiritual. And so there's sub-needs to spiritual. For some, it's connecting to a higher power. For others, it's just living by healthy values, healthy beliefs. And we need healthy values if we're going to be healthy. It's a need. We need healthy beliefs if we're going to be healthy, because healthy living is based on healthy thinking, healthy beliefs. We need healthy beliefs about happiness and success. But then we also need healthy attitudes, humility, empathy. All of those become spirituality for people. It's the core of who you are, the soul. It's beyond the physical and what you do. So there's a whole bunch of needs within there if we're going to be healthy spiritually. And then the 12th one is contentment. That we are wired to need contentment to have joy. What does that mean? We need a sense of wholeness where all our needs are met. And when all our needs are met, we feel complete. We feel satisfied. We feel content. And that leads to joy. So, like I said, what started out with 12 needs has become 68 needs. I hope it helps you just appreciate the 12 needs a bit more, to understand a little bit more clearly what's involved in the 12 needs, but also that it gives you a roadmap for how to meet all those 12 needs. So you might still just want to go by the 12 needs, and that's fine. Some of you might want to start writing out the 68 needs and begin to think through how you're going to begin to learn to meet those needs in your life. Just don't expect to do it all in one day. Don't expect that you're going to be a pro at this overnight. Give yourself permission to gradually learn how to meet all of these needs. Now let me just talk about doing that. How do we grow in meeting all of these 68 different needs? So understand, first of all, that needs in children, who meets them changes. So the meeting of that need is dependent on their age. So when a child is really young, the parent feeds them. But they don't plan to still be feeding the child when they're 10. The child should be able to feed themselves. So part of feeding the child, meeting that need, is also teaching the child tools so that the child can gradually learn to meet the need for themselves. And so that is important to understand. So it's not just that we learn what the 68 needs are, it's that we're learning the tools to meet those needs, and that's dependent on your age. Now that's important in complex trauma to understand it's not dependent on your physical age, but on your toolkit age. You see, you might be 50, but you have the toolkit of a 10-year-old. So, if I'm teaching you to meet your needs, I'm not teaching you as if you're 50, I'm teaching you as 10. So I'm teaching you, I'm helping meet that need, but I'm also teaching you quickly the tools so that you can learn to meet that need yourself so that you can catch up and your toolkit can be 50 just like your biological age is. So what I tell many of clients that I work with is, you're 50 but you have a toolkit of a 10-year-old. We're going to take 40 years and we are going to condense learning into a couple of years so that within a couple of years, hopefully, you're going to have the toolkit of a 50-year-old just like your biological age. And so what I'm wanting people to understand is when it comes to meeting your 12 needs or 68 needs, you have to understand, where's my toolkit at? And that's where you have to think of it in terms not of your biological age, but your actual toolkit age, and accept that you're there and learn appropriate to that age. Secondly, understand that some needs, if they're going to get met, involve other people. So I can't have true connection all by myself. I can connect with myself, but I need more than that. So I need people in my life. And this is so important, just to emphasize that we're not talking about all of these needs so that you can be totally self-sufficient and isolate. No, we need others. Now, you might not need hundreds of people, but you will need a couple people. You can't do recovery alone. You can't be healthy all alone. You can't have joy all alone. We are made for connection. Then understand that some needs are first met by others, but then I learn to meet them myself. And so, though others met them, like feeding me, over time, I don't need anybody to feed me. I can feed myself. And so that is going to happen in your life today. So let me put it this way. A child needs to be accepted totally by their parents. But what happens as they experience that total acceptance is they come to accept themselves. So now, as an adult, they can be amongst people who don't like them or don't accept them, and they're okay with that because they accept themselves. They can meet that need themselves. Now, it's still nice if they have people in their life who still fully accept them, but they don't necessarily need that all the time. But what happens if you didn't get full acceptance when you were growing up? And you don't accept yourself. Now you have to learn to accept yourself, but you're probably for a little while going to need people in your life who fully accept you, and they meet that need in you and teach you how to meet it yourself. So even though you might be 50, understand that I might need today people in my life who accept me, people who encourage me, people who meet all my love needs, because I don't know how to do that yet, and I need them to do it for me and teach me how to do it. And then when it comes to security needs, I don't know how to regulate my emotions yet. I need others to teach me, and then eventually I'll be able to do it myself. I don't know how to set good boundaries. I don't know how to have a healthy routine. I need others to teach me for now until I can do it for myself, and I don't need them any longer. So be prepared that you're going to need a mentor or mentors for a period of time, surrogate parents, as you learn to parent yourself. And that's okay. Don't feel shame for that or beat yourself up. Now here's the tricky part. There are some needs, not tons, but some needs where I can meet part of my need even though I'm healthy, but I still need others to meet some of that need. So I need to be able to trust people, but I need people who are committed. But I have to be committed too, so they can meet part of their need. We both have a part in the meeting of the need. Communication. You need two people who are doing it well. Attachment. You need a second person. And so with some of the needs, Doesn't matter how healthy you get, you will still need involvement with another person. Well, I hope that helps you. I hope it fills out your thinking just a little bit in understanding these 12 needs. It's stuff that maybe you've thought of before because we've taught this so often, but for those of you that this is fairly new to, who've been wondering what are these 12 needs they keep talking about, I hope it gives you a better understanding, but also puts it in a context of what does that mean when it comes to reparenting.